Uh, we're live.
We're live. Welcome.
Yeah. Hi. We're live. Welcome to Monday morning. Monday morning.
Welcome to Useful Idiots Monday Morning Edition.
Yes, Monday morning edition. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Katie?
I'm good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Did you have a good weekend?
I did have a good weekend. What about you?
It was awesome.
Really? Why was it awesome?
Well, I had a wisdom tooth that was bothering me for weeks. Like I was ready to jump down the throat of anyone who talked to me, and I finally got it out. So I was happy for I'm still happy. Yeah.
Great.
Just the relief is washing over me.
And your family must be happy too, or
yeah,
anyone who came into contact with you. Your local, I don't know, barista.
Right. Well, yeah. No, I don't.
You don't go to those places.
Yeah. But yeah, people can come within 5 feet of me now, so it's much better.
Without you biting them.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. Although now your bite, right. Especially then, your bite would have been more powerful. You're down one. Wait, you're down one tooth or a set?
No, I had the other 3 already taken out. This was the last one, but it cracked on me like almost a month ago. So every time I opened my mouth, it was just like a jolt of pure pain.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah, for a month.
Why didn't they take that one out with the other 3?
Just couldn't get an appointment earlier. Anyway, let's talk about the.
All right, let's talk about the news.
The news, right, yeah.
The morning show. So this is Monday morning where we watch the Sunday morning shows. So you don't have to, and then we report back on them. And someone's confused. They said we weren't doing live anymore. No, we are doing live. We're doing live. We're not doing this other thing. We're live right now. Yeah, we're not doing this other additional live thing. Anyway, so someone asked if there was a chasm in your teeth.
Okay. There's a chasm.
Yeah, a chasm. Right. To chasm. Colin Powell died of COVID after being fully vaccinated. Little did he know the nurse had a fake vial of Pfizer vaccine. What goes around comes around. I don't know what that's about.
I don't either.
Exactly. But what I can confirm is that
I'm not sure.
Did die.
Did he die?
Yeah, you didn't know this? Yeah.
No.
Colin Powell died. I'm glad you're. Yeah.
Yeah.
From COVID-related complications. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's dive into that. We'll talk about Colin Powell later.
Okay, yeah. And we are live, guys. Stop gaslighting us. We're live.
Yeah, exactly.
Right now.
That's very meta. People like asking us in real time.
Yeah.
If we're not live.
Yeah.
All right. So.
I get it. Colin Powell waved around. This is good. Okay. A fake vial of anthrax to get us to invade Iraq. Okay.
Right. It was a fake vaccine. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, so lots of discussion yesterday, as usual, still about the reconciliation bill, and I think we should probably get to the Meet the Press thing. Do you want to just roll? What's his name?
Chuck.
Tuck Chad.
Yeah. Tuck. Yeah.
Tuck Chad. He's already conceding something in this clip.
Yeah. Nice comment from Tony Plow.
Already, though, is it already got this like weird negative vibe to it, even if they pass it? Here's what Politico wrote yesterday. I thought it was a bit harsh, this framing, but maybe they're right. Here's the cold reality, they write. It now appears all but impossible for Democrats to enact a reconciliation package that's anywhere near as far-reaching as what polls suggest a large majority of Democratic voters want. And that effectively means that for a lot of Dems, it will be hard to see whatever ends up coming out of this process as a success with potentially dire implications for the party in 2022. Specifically, they were writing about the climate provisions, basically capitulating to Manchin's demands here, which basically Secretary Buttigieg didn't want to touch.
See, I think the challenge really goes back more to what Garrett is saying, is that I don't know that Democratic voters are particularly excited about Build Back Better or an infrastructure bill.
Don't you see all the individual polling that they tell you this? I'm sorry, I just makes me nuts.
I know it.
Just because something polls well doesn't mean
that it's salient. It's not salient.
Yes.
What is salient, and I've been sitting in these focus groups, especially with younger African-American voters, you know what they're talking about? It's exactly what Garrett said, which is, where's the police reform? We talked about that a lot in 2020. Voting rights, this is an existential threat to our country, and what, we can't pass it? You're in charge, Democrats. It's you have a chance to do this. And so I think they're sort of missing out on the things that do really energize Democrats on the one hand. And then the other is everything you just talked about, which is there's just a sluggishness in the economy, in the optimism, that he's also the president and Democrats aren't delivering on the sort of bread and butter that they were hoping they would.
Okay, there's so much to unpack there, but where do you want to start with that?
No, you go first.
Okay. First of all, the vibe comment is kind of funny. Chuck Todd saying it has a negative vibe, which really reminds me of this movie, The Castle, where which I highly recommend. It's an Australian movie, and there's a really inept lawyer who's trying to make an argument and cite some legal precedent, and the judge is asking him what he's citing, and he's like, "It's the whole vibe of it." Like he's citing some law, and she's like, "Well, how does that relate? Like, how does like indigenous land rights relate to this case about, you know, some white Australian guy?" And he's like, "It's the vibe. It's the whole vibe of it." Anyway, so but okay, why are salient is one of the most abused words lately. Have you noticed this?
I have not
really
noticed
use
that.
it all the time. Yeah. In fact, I don't think. What do people mean when they say it? Because I'm looking up the actual definition. Most noticeable or important.
Well, it's more like
pointing outward, piece of land or section of fortification. Obviously, that's not it's the most noticeable, important part. Yeah.
Yeah, it's relevance, it's importance, it's the thing that's actually
the vibe
important.
of it. Right.
Yeah.
It's a thing that's actually important. But how do they determine it's actually important? And how do they determine what polls matter? I mean, she sat in on focus groups with African Americans, young African Americans, which is good. I don't understand. And then she talks about how they're not getting the bread and butter issues through, which is the other stuff, not police reform. Which I think is important, but that's not a bread and butter issue. And she talks about how voting rights are existential. Well, what about climate issues? Isn't that the most existential issue out there?
Right. I can completely see though why certain voters might not prioritize climate change over. See, this is something we're going to get to in a second because there was another thing about Bernie's editorial, but you know, look, this is complicated. Both voting rights and police reform, they're much more state issues than federal issues. So it's you know, the idea that people are more worried about those things than they might be about something that would be passed by federal legislation is kind of, it's understandable. Like, I get it, and there are things you can do at the federal level, like you can reinvigorate civil rights investigations into local police departments, which is something that Jeff Sessions emphasized not doing, right? Like he kind of rolled back some of but you know, it's not something necessarily that's going to be in a reconciliation bill, right? And there are some other bread and butter issues in this bill, like the childcare thing is definitely one of those.
Right.
But this kind of gets to I'm sorry, my dog just came tumbling down the stairs. So let's talk for a second about because there's another clip we should probably watch, but where on Fox they went after talking about this clash between Manchin and Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
We are looking at how to pronounce this word in English, designating something most noticeable or important. It can also describe a piece of land or section of a fortification that juts out to form an angle. How do you go about pronouncing it, though? Salient.
Salient.
The first syllable, the say syllable. Salient.
Thank you. Yeah, good call back to the chat.
We gotta have that guy. Yeah, we gotta have that guy on. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so but
I'm just gonna say once more though that salient is such a self-referential framing. Like, who the hell makes it salient? What the hell are you using to determine that?
Well, right. Yeah, and it doesn't matter anyway at this point. Like the salience is all about. I mean, there's 48 members of the Democratic caucus have already decided that the whole bill is salient. So we only have two members that there were, who have salience issues.
They just say that like they have their finger on the pulse of America in a way that like it's trust them, trust Amy Cook and Chuck Todd, not polls. Which again, I'm not like I don't think polls have all the truth all the time, but it's just a weird like why am I going to trust you and some fucking some focus group you sat in on, Amy?
You might as well just go for it, just let it rip. But no, it's all right.
Let it rip. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. No sarcasm in Useful Idiots.
Sarcasm actually is a thing. It's the gap between, I made this up. It's the gap between the person not getting sarcasm and the person being sarcastic.
All right.
It's a good neologism.
So I made a very salient point. All right. Excellent. That is a good neologism or logism. Yes. Low Chasm. Let's just see quickly the Fox treatment of the situation.
President Biden is facing heavy pressure to make sure the U.S. supply chain corrects course between now and the holidays. Couple that with a spike in inflation, and it's leaving Americans feeling the pinch in their pocketbooks. In a moment, we'll discuss the problem and possible solutions with top economist Mohamed El-Erian. But first, let's bring in David Spun at the White House with more on the political fallout. David.
I can't get Chris, it may be making headlines now, but this supply chain crisis began brewing months ago with consequences that may last well into the new year.
Dozens of cargo ships packed to the brim, stuck in a deep blue parking lot off the California coast. On land, truck drivers are scarce.
Truckers have been on the front lines of this entire pandemic. They want to be paid well. They want to be respected.
Empty store shelves, economic uncertainty, and long lines spell sticker shock for millions of Americans, reeling from an 18-month pandemic. 13-year high inflation is the new reality. The consumer price index climbed 5.4% in September compared to the prior year, matching the highest rate since 2008. Food rose 4.6%, electricity 5.2%. President Biden also continuing to push his social safety net package.
It's clear that it's not going to be $3.5 trillion.
The single giant
Independent Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders out with an op-ed in a West Virginia paper, making a plea to coal country about the climate. The state's senior Senator Joe Manchin fired back, writing, "This isn't the first time an out-of-stater has tried to tell West Virginians what is best for them, despite having no relationship to our state. I will not vote for a reckless expansion of government programs."
All right.
Negotiations between the president.
We can probably stop there. So, although let's look at that. Do you think that is one
piece
of hair?
It could be. That's definitely another neologism, a spunt, which is when you have one piece of hair filling in for
many hairs.
Yeah.
Right. For like a full set of hair.
Yeah. Full set of hair, yeah. So wait, hold on. We got to hide the video. So I'm sad you missed the opportunity last week to correct Joy Reid's pronunciation of moo. What was this?
Oh.
In what context?
I don't know. We have to
moo, was she quoting? Was this a cow thing? Let us know, Richard. Also, someone made a good point. You can buy from local artists.
Right. So, all right. Like, there's a lot there's a lot to get through there. So the whole Manchin thing. First of all, it's the most predictable thing on earth. That let's leave this.
You pronounce it mew. I know
mew.
It's moo. No, it's not like a cow, but rather mew.
It's a financial term. I can't remember what it is.
It is. Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah. Or is it a financial term? I can't remember. It's
Spunt is when your dog falls down the stairs.
Which just happened to me. We had a spunt. I thought it was like a medical term. Like I have a spunt in my aorta, right? Like instead of a shunt, it's like some dangerous other thing.
Right? Oh, right. I see. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, his widow's peak does look like is like it's kind of split. His head is kind of sliced down the middle. If you look at it, it's like a Picasso painting. Actually, it's kind of interesting. So all right, so Manchin, first of all, it's the most predictable thing in the world that he would respond to Bernie's editorial by saying, like, no out-of-stater is going to tell us for West Virginians what to do. Like that was the go-to move. Of course he was going to do that. But what's interesting about if you read Bernie's editorial, and Matt, if we could see just the headline of this and maybe scroll down a little bit. Bernie wrote a really interesting, I mean, it was typical Bernie, but it wasn't all about climate. It was about a whole bunch of stuff. It started off by talking about the income disparity. Then it talked about some of the things that are in the bill. One of them being, for instance, like, again, this issue that has come up a gazillion times, dating back to the beginning of Obama's term. Are we going to have Medicare negotiate prescription drug prices, right? Which would save everybody a ton of money. And as Bernie points out, with 4 out of 10 people not able to, or what is it? 1 out of 4? 1 out of 4 people not able to afford their prescriptions because they're too expensive. Lowering, having the government be able to use its bargaining power to lower Medicare prices would be a massive thing for like the entire country, and that's in this bill. There's dental care, right, which is another thing that's in this bill, which is totally a bread and butter issue.
Yeah, so seniors can choose their food, as he says. Oh, what happened? Is it me or is it Matt? Hello?
That's Matt. Okay. You want to read his op-ed in your Bernie impression?
The bill would expand Medicare to cover dental, hearing aids, and eyeglasses. Today, in the wealthiest nation on earth, many millions of seniors are unable to afford to go to a dentist to buy the hearing aids and eyeglasses they need. In the richest country on earth, older Americans should not have teeth rotting in their mouths. That is unacceptable. The United States and states like West Virginia and Vermont in particular are seeing their populations age. The result, more and more older Americans and people with disabilities need home health care. They would much prefer to be around their loved ones at home rather than be forced into expensive nursing homes. The bill greatly expands home health care and makes sure that these jobs are adequately paid. The Build Back Better plan is not only vitally important for seniors, but is enormously important for working families and their children. As a result of the $300 direct payments to working class parents, which began in the American Rescue Plan, we have cut childhood poverty in our country by half. It would be unconscionable to see those payments end, which is exactly what will happen if we do not pass this bill.
That was awesome. What little I heard of it, I disappeared into a time spunt.
Uncle under Amo Bernie, and that
was awesome.
Read some of it. Thank you.
So, okay, I think there might be a little bit of a problem, like, with the strategy on this bill. Like, in other words, if they had taken each of these issues in succession and decided to pass them one by one, I have a feeling that might have had a better chance.
It's true. Matt's Wi-Fi thing does prove how crappy American infrastructure is. We need net neutrality, and we need it now.
Am I back?
Yeah, you are back. Yeah. Also, it's funny. I make a Bernie face. Apparently, I wonder what it looks like. I don't realize I'm doing it.
Can I see? I do it.
I don't know. I have to
say, Kenneth, what is the frequency in a Bernie voice?
Kenneth, what is the frequency? What is the frequency, Kenneth? I don't even. Did I make an expression?
That's kind of.
What is the frequency? And Kenneth, I believe we're going to have the Kenneth sharing the frequency shortly. Thank you.
That is net gold right there. Excellent. Do you know? We'll get into that some other time. So was I cut off? I guess I was just trying to say that basically, like, I think if they might have had better luck if they had tried to do each of these things in separately.
Yeah.
You know, like if they had just done, let's let Medicare negotiate with the pharmaceutical industry. You know, I think it would be pretty hard for some of those people to have no votes on that, right?
Yeah.
Especially in this environment, right? But the thing is, they put everything in this bill, and now what's happening is, like, you know, they're pitting different constituencies against one another, and there are some people who maybe feel diffident about certain parts of the bill, and then it's Spuntrum. Yeah. Actually, they guessed correctly if they're thinking that it's Optimum. We should rename it Spuntrum. Do you think?
Spuntrum? Yeah, we should. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So I don't know. I mean, like, it seems like if you go back to the Chuck Todd thing, they're setting us up for this whole, like, people aren't stoked about the whole bill, so we're going to end up caving on everything, and it's going to end up being a smaller bill. Like, it feels like that's kind of where the messaging is heading with this.
What do you think? But what's Bernie's messaging?
I think Bernie's messaging is good. I think, you know, he's look, it's just his usual thing, and he's talking about the widening income gap, and, you know, the idea that there are 2 billionaires who have more collective wealth than
billionaires.
The bottom 40% of the entire country. Like, that's absurd, right? Like, it's ridiculous. Ooh, God, that's
someone
horrifying.
asked about. Did we? Yeah, I think we talked about that, right?
Yeah, we talked about it.
Yeah.
My lips are a little full in that.
Notes.
Yeah.
Yeah, fuller than mine, which I don't think matches reality.
Yeah, I don't think.
Although I'm smiling, so it's different, I guess. Yeah.
Right. Hard to know.
Oh, so people are saying I should do stand up. By the way, on the 24th, if you're in New York, I am doing an event at I should put in the details, but for Julian Assange. I think that's on brand, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Lee Camp is going to be there. So yeah, the 24th. Anyway. Okay. Been performed in a long time.
So yeah, I don't know. Like, as time goes on, I think what's going to happen is you're going to see more and more editorializing. That's like, this is Bernie's bill. He's got this whole wish list of stuff, which is everything that he should be asking for. You know, child care, negotiating lower, right? But they're going to end up throwing all that stuff overboard, and we're going to get an infrastructure bill and, like, you know, $500 million of other stuff, or 800 million, maybe something like that. Just my take on this. I don't know. What do you think?
I think that sounds about right. I think it's
right.
I think that I'll align with that prediction.
Yeah. Well, they just have to work out what they think is salient and what isn't.
Yeah, right? Exactly. It's a question. It's the whole vibe of it.
It's the whole vibe.
It's the salience vibe. Yeah.
Yeah.
The salience vibe at the end of the day.
Right. So also yesterday, Brian Stelter had an interesting day yesterday, and we're not gonna go after him for the Chasm thing again.
Well, we may or may not.
Oh, we may. Oh, okay, all right.
We'll see.
So just quickly, this was really fun. To me, it was really interesting because I care way too much about this stuff. But he had Mark Elias on, who was the lead lawyer for the Clinton campaign in 2016. He was a former partner at Perkins Coie, which was the campaign's law firm, and he's sort of named in the indictment that came out. The John Durham's indictment was of another Perkins Coie lawyer named Mark Sussman, but Elias is named in the indictment, and he's clearly kind of a target of this investigation, like at least elliptically he is. And this is how Brian Stelter asks about that issue, and it's far into the interview, by the way.
So as you can tell, anyone who follows me on Twitter knows, I tend to take it head on.
We got to go a little bit back.
I think that
who is out to, in their minds, steal elections. So how do you handle that, intense scrutiny, that coverage, that criticism from right-wing media?
So as you can tell, anyone who follows me on Twitter knows, I tend to take it head on, because I think that ignoring it, and this is one of the things, by the way, your show does extremely well, and frankly, I wish all of the media did what your show does, is you don't ignore the right-wing misinformation, disinformation. You take it head on. So that's really what I try to do. I try to call it out. I try to point out the inconsistencies and absurdities of it. But otherwise, we just need to keep our eye on the ball of focusing on protecting democracy going forward.
I appreciate what you said about this program and about, some people are trying to call attention to this every day, every week. I think CNN every day is sounding these alarms. And one of my fears is that other networks, other major outlets are not. And they're going to regret it years from now, right? Isn't this ultimately about, let's not have regrets 20 years from now?
That's exactly right, Brian. I can't speak to what it means for ratings tomorrow or next week. What I do know is that 10 years from now, 20 years from now, when your children and your grandchildren look at this moment in time, they will celebrate those people who spoke forcefully and called this out. And they will be ashamed of those people who hid in the shadows and created a sense of both sides. So I agree with you.
Mark, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
He tends to take it head. What is it? He takes it head on.
So basically, we didn't see the entire question, but Stelter goes back and he says, so Molly Hemingway, the conservative writer and reporter, she wrote this book Rigged, and among other things, it makes the argument that the election, the 2020 election, was rigged, but not in the way that Donald Trump is talking about, but through things like internet censorship and and media coverage. I don't know if I don't think I would agree with that necessarily, but that says, she mentions you as somebody who basically rigs elections. What's your response to that? So he doesn't. In that question, he doesn't say you were Hillary Clinton's lawyer in 2016 when and mentioned in an indictment that came out just a couple of weeks ago in a case that involves basically a fraudulent electioneering. He doesn't mention the specifics, doesn't mention what his title was. His way to ask that question. I'm sure there was an oversight.
Sure, that was an oversight. Damn. All right, we're getting Matt and Mesh Network thing. Let's see. Has anyone been able? Okay. Wilson, what should we do? More Bernie stuff for me to read?
How about Pat Robertson?
Yeah, let's go to Pat Robertson. All right. Now, this is okay. Oh my God, it's two Matts. Matt, look at that. Matt, hey.
Were there two of me?
Yeah, there were for a second. I took a screenshot.
Oh, okay. Wow. So it would be split time.
It was like a spunt in the space-time continuum.
It was a spunt in the space-time continuum.
Yeah.
Someone's got to draw a picture of what a spunt looks like.
Seriously, yeah.
Yeah. Or would it just look like that hair thing?
Yeah, it could.
You have a spaceship driving underneath it? Is that how it would work?
I don't know. But we're going to have some spaceships coming up. I don't want to give anything away, but stand by for some space stuff. And I found the stand-up for Assange. It's at Theater 80. It's at Theater 80 St. Mark's.
Excellent. Yeah. Everybody go.
Yeah. Oh, Ted Alexander's going to be there too. Look at that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So anyway, I just thought that was interesting that like he has the guy on, like one of the central figure in this whole thing, and that's how he asked the question. Like he doesn't even tell people
who he is. Yeah, you'll
yeah.
definitely watch it and not have any idea.
Right. So so what else we got? We got do you want to do the Barry Weiss thing or?
Sure, yeah. Matt gets his internet from a satellite Sputnik. It's true. Anyone else point that's Bernie's voice was kind of hot. Just me, never mind. Okay. Thanks, Jeff. I'll just highlight that. Thank you.
Content.
All right.
The point is that oftentimes I'm just saying the thing that a lot of people believe and are curious about. That's the business model. The business model is, let's note the fact that there is a chasm right now between what people are willing to.
Do you hear what she said?
In their kitchen tables, in the comfort and the trust of their most loved ones.
You guys catch that callback?
And then what they're willing to say on
That's
Twitter.
awesome.
Oftentimes it's literally two different personas.
Do you think he
did
he flinch when she
I'm
said
trying
chasm?
to say no. Willing to say in their kitchen tables, in the comfort and the trust of their most loved ones, their family, and then what they're willing to note the fact that there is a chasm right now between.
Nah, he doesn't flinch. He should have. It makes me think maybe he didn't watch our special on him, our Chasm special. Or maybe she is correcting him. It could be. That's true.
I don't know with my internet. Folks.
That's funny. Imagine if Stelter interrupted her like, what the WTF word are you trying to say exactly?
Did he repeat it?
What?
Did he repeat it?
No, but that would have been really funny.
So she had to have done that on purpose, right?
I don't know. What do you think?
I'm going to guess yes.
Let us know, fam. Like this, share this, and let us know what you think about Weiss. Intentional chasm drop or not?
I mean, we can ask her. Well, I'll send her an email right now, actually.
All right. Yeah, do it. Yeah.
So what else about that segment?
Oh yeah, you want to watch their little fight?
Yeah, let's watch that.
Sure. Wilson, can you play their little fight?
Right. There are tens of millions of Americans who aren't on the hard left or the hard right who feel the world has gone mad. So in what ways has the world gone mad?
Well, when you have the chief reporter on the beat of COVID for the New York Times talking about how questioning or pursuing the question of the lab leak is racist, the world has gone mad. When you're not able to say out loud and in public that there are differences between men and women, the world has gone mad. When we're not allowed to acknowledge that rioting is rioting and it is bad, and that silence is not violence, but violence is violence, the world has gone mad. When we're not able to say that Hunter Biden's laptop is a story worth pursuing, the world has gone mad. When in the name of progress, young school children, as young as kindergarten, are being separated in public schools because of their race, and that is called progress rather than segregation, the world has gone mad. There are dozens of examples that I could share with you and with your viewers. And
you often say,
everyone
aloud.
Sort of knows this, and
you say we're not allowed, we're not able. Who's the people stopping the conversation?
She did it again.
People that work at networks, frankly, like the one I'm speaking on right now, who try and claim that, it was racist to investigate the lab leak theory. It was.
But
I mean,
who
let's
said
just
that
take
at
an
CNN?
example.
But I'm just saying that when you say allowed, I just think it's a provocative thing you say. You say we're not allowed to talk about these things, but they're all over the internet. I can Google them. I can find them everywhere. I've heard about every story you mentioned.
Course.
So I'm just suggesting, of course, people are allowed to cover whatever they want to cover.
But you and I both know, and it would be delusional to claim otherwise, that touching your finger to an increasing number of subjects that have been deemed third rail by the mainstream institutions and increasingly by some of the tech companies will lead to reputational damage, perhaps you losing your job, your children sometimes being demonized as well. And so what happens is a kind of internal self-censorship This is something that I saw over and over again when I was at the New York Times.
Okay. So, I disagree with Barry Weiss on a lot of things. And I also thought...
Yeah, I was wondering how you were going to react to this. Yeah.
Well, and also, I just want to say she's pointing out, when you have the editor at the New York Times, what she said? But I do want to point out, new political owner, and this is an article in Haaretz, the Israeli newspaper, new political owner says will enforce pro-Israel policy. Axel Springer, CEO, makes clear that tenets such as support for Israel's rights to exist, quote, apply to every employee of our company, end quote, even if they won't have to pledge this in writing. So yeah. I hope that all the, ideological conformity people are upset about that.
Yeah, like Glenn brought that up this weekend, and and I didn't hear that on her list, but it should be.
It should be, yeah. But there is a little bit of a chasm, for Barry when it comes to Israel, I would say, and principles of free speech. But okay, here's the thing that's a little ridiculous. When Brian Stelter is like, "What do you mean allowed?" And it's true. Like, there are things that you can and can't say on CNN.
Well, and the entire premise of the question is, why are people going to Substack? It's right. Like, why does he have to ask that question if it's obvious? Like, the Substack there's a lot of stuff that people are coming to alternative media platforms because it's not on CNN.
Yeah.
Or
right.
And so he's in an awkward position, right? Like he's got to defend this idea that we're nobody's telling us not to cover this or that, but as Barry points out, everybody in the media knows how this works. It's not like they come to your desk with like a red pencil and they tell you like, no, you can't talk about this or that. It's just like you just know that it's not gonna be good for your career if you do X, Y, or Z. That's why it was interesting when we talked to Ben Schreckinger last week, because he made a decision that was once upon a time a totally uncontroversial reporting decision, which was, I'm just going to kind of follow this stuff and put it all out there. And he's not nice to the Republicans, he's not nice to the Democrats, but there were some danger zones in his reporting, and you can see the result of that, which is that people are not tremendously inviting him on cable shows to talk about his book, right? So that's what she's talking about, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I think that's and people always are like, it's a free country, you can talk about whatever you want. But what does that mean? Again, like, I was just thinking today when we were watching Meet the Press, like just how sad and narrow the spectrum is for anyone. You had Poderit, who's like from the National Review, I believe. But it's just so insider. And so these things, I mean, it's like technically free speech, but but like you were saying, there are just certain things. There's two issues. One is that certain people are just never represented. Certain views are never represented. It's a narrow spectrum, like Chomsky talks about. But then there are things that are just verboten. Like, you just cannot talk about them.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Crystal did an interesting monologue on that once about how she learned that lesson at MSNBC.
Mm-hmm. What
it was like she had written something about Clinton, and it got pushed back, and she had to, like, there was a lot of stuff that she had to, like, kind of hoops to jump through, and so she's just like, obviously it serves as a disincentive.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like, and in my own career, Rolling Stone, which is like probably on the spectrum of this stuff, as mild as you can possibly get in the media. Like, in other words, they give you tremendous license, or at least they did when I was there, to kind of explore whatever you want. But you like, writers occasionally, like, when you're turning in a draft, you might get something like, well, let's see if we can make this a little clearer, or you know what I mean? Like, you're getting, like, you have to rewrite this section if it's a touchy subject. And so the next time you sit down to do an article and you're thinking, oh, do I want to do extra work? Right. And you just skip it. Right. Or or at least you think about it, because you don't want to have to deal with the issues you might have editorially. Now, that's extremely, I've maybe dealt with that maybe once or twice in my life, but I know that a lot of writers deal with that stuff. I could tell you a story about a certain very, very famous liberal magazine where that is like epidemic. We're sending you back for rewrites, about an issue, and you just interminably, like forever, like a Kafkaesque character, are stuck in a rewrite because you hit on some topic that they don't like.
I wonder which one that is.
Yeah,
you'll have to lip sync it, and no one else.
I'll have to talk to that person and see if I can disclose that. But but that but what she's talking about is a real thing. Like we all
it is.
So and then he makes it worse by sort of denying it. Like it would be
well, it's showing not telling, right?
Right. Yeah. I don't know. But that was an interesting exchange for sure. She hasn't answered yet about the Chasm, but we'll see. So then there was another thing about Katie Couric. I thought this was an interesting discussion. Could we see that CNN?
Katie Couric has a book coming out. And
another Eddie Monster.
She admits that she omitted some comments that the late Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg made during an interview years ago with Couric. So let me read part of the book so people knows what the context is. She says, I faced a conundrum when I asked RBG what she thought about Colin Kaepernick taking a knee during the anthem to protect police killings of black men. I think it's dumb and disrespectful, she told me. And then she went on. So she felt torn. A Supreme Court aide called and asked her not to air that part of the interview. She did air a portion of the interview, but she took some out. Here's what she says. She split the difference. She left in Ginsburg's harsh characterization of Kaepernick's actions, but left out the following quote. Quote, it's contempt for a government that has made it possible for their parents and their grandparents to live a decent life. So she omitted a key part of the interview with a Supreme Court justice. And she's getting a lot of criticism for this. Robert Couric says she still wrestles with the decision she made. Did she make the right decision to take out that quote?
I have not read Ms. Couric's book, but based on what you just described there, it reminds me of the Trump era when interviews with Trump were detailed in articles, but ultimately many news organizations, including the Washington Post, decided to put out transcripts of those interviews. Because when you're dealing with people in power at the highest positions, whether it's a president or a member of the Supreme Court, readers, citizens deserve to have as much information as possible. And full transcripts, if you can provide them, really help readers get behind the scenes of the reporting. So Couric, as a reporter or journalist, can decide how she edits a package together. But when it's done in a way, when it's about a subject as important as the Supreme Court justice, people deserve to know what was said.
Yeah, this contributes to a decline in trust in media. When she admits years later that she basically covered something up, even if she says, I didn't know if I did the right thing and I'm wrestling with it and I'm trying to be transparent now, it contributes to a lack of trust in media. And here's a headline from The Week, Joel Mathis of The Week saying, this adds to America's misinformation problem. Is that fair?
Trust and integrity, that's our currency in the media. We have to do everything possible in a time of disinformation to protect that integrity and trust. And whether it's an article, a tweet, we're all out there all the time. And the best disinfectant is sunlight. Get as much sunlight on these stories as possible so people who are reading and digesting information feel that they're getting something.
He doesn't really have a spun.
Or cut up.
He's missing the
truth.
No, he's
as close to the truth as possible.
But the Supreme Court press aide says, "Hey, can you not
it's
run
like
that
a half
clip?"
spun.
That's more reason to run it, right?
Yeah,
that's more reason to think that it's newsworthy. Robert Costa, co-author of Peril. Thank you so much.
Okay, so by the way, please like the stream, you lazy cowards. What you stand for nothing if you don't like the stream. Okay, so okay, a couple things. One is, and I'm sorry, I said Poderitz was from National Review. It was actually this guy who got his start, or was at National Review before, and Poderitz is at Commentary. But a couple things. One is, it's hard for me to take Costa seriously when it comes to like journalistic ethics, because he did just co-write that book, Peril, right, with Bob Woodward. And I just think that Bob Woodward sitting on that story about Trump saying he was downplaying COVID is a huge story in itself. And it's just so tacky, especially from all these resistance, journalists who say that Trump was this existential threat and also unprecedented, and his family. I mean, I agree his handling of COVID was abysmal, and I think that was a story that you should have revealed. It could have had real life impact. And
the other thing that I thought was crazy about that was because they did it clearly for marketing reasons, but
right.
I think that's stupid. Like, if you had broken the story beforehand and said, "Oh, this is a story that we came up with in the process of writing our book, our soon to be smash hit book, Peril," it would have been good marketing as well, right? Like, okay, maybe you take a little hit from that, but that just says,
how much money does this guy make, and how much attention does he get?
Yeah, the only thing I can think of that might work in terms of his internal thinking is that if I blow this up now, maybe I cut off my access to this person, to Trump, and I lose the chance at getting something even better.
Yeah,
that's possible. Like that's the way a reporter would think about that kind of stuff. But from a marketing perspective, it was just asinine. And then to play it up when the book finally did come out, that by then it was long since clear that whatever communication that he had with Trump was over. So
right. So it really doesn't work.
Yeah, like it made no sense at all.
Yeah.
But this issue with RBG, I mean, I think it's an interesting question, because
I agree. And I talked about this on The Hill this week, but apparently she asked David. She asked David, David from ABC. I can't remember his last name. Who was the former head of ABC, who said, you should obviously, people have the right to know what she's saying because she is a Supreme Court justice. And then David Brooks said, she probably misspoke, or she's old and out of it, something like that, and don't run it. But if she did, you should know that because she's on the Supreme Court. All the more reason. And also, as I learned when I was preparing for that Rising appearance, David Brooks himself got into trouble for a conflict of interest because did you know this? He was on a paid member of he was on the board of the Aspen Institute, which gets funding from Facebook, and he was writing about Facebook and this thing called Weave.
Oh.
So he had to, and the Times then went back and added some disclaimers to the tops of his articles. So maybe she shouldn't have asked him.
Right.
I think that the whole thing is cutting a segment entirely, I think, has more integrity than cutting out a part that someone requests. Although I guess she didn't cut out all of the part that she requested be out.
Well, there's a couple of things going on here. First of all, there's no law that says that when you interview somebody, you have to publish everything that they say.
Right.
If somebody says something impolitic, that kind of journalist, Katie Couric, normally you automatically put it on the air because your brief is to be controversial and get ratings and do stuff like that. But no, you're not. I don't think you're ethically obligated to convey everything that a person says to you in an interview, unless it contradicts something else that they say that you do print, right? But another thing that I think happens, and this is part of that kind of larger argument that we're having in media these days about like kind of view from nowhere journalism and moral clarity and everything is that a lot of times journalists think that it's their job to provide narrative consistency and to decide what is going to come off well and what isn't going to come off well, and to like shape the news a certain way. And frequently they're wrong, and they're taking too much responsibility for what the news is. I think sometimes when somebody says something, you just put it out there because it's the public's job to decide what it thinks about a certain thing, right? Like don't be so terrified to put something out there because you're afraid of what the political impact is going to be. Like that's not your job to worry about that. Your job is just to like I think that happened a lot in the Trump era, where like for just to take an example that I mentioned a lot, like Hillary was getting not very big crowds during 2016, so a lot of reporters were like, oh my god, that's bad news, like people are going to be afraid of putting that out there, so because that'll make her campaign look bad. But actually, like, you ended up helping Trump by not publishing that because it gave people a false sense of security, right? Just put it out there.
Put it out there.
Yeah.
Hey, sunlight, best disinfectant, except for my co-writer, my partner, Bob Woodward, co-author of Peril.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
For whom that does not apply.
Right.
Wouldn't that have been great if Brian Stelter had asked him about that?
About his decision?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would have been a very interesting pivot, but
right. Well, like, how will they probably both would have whiskied out of that one though.
Yeah, definitely.
Somehow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It would have made it out to be Trump's fault that Woodward sat on that news. Yeah, that was strange. I mean, it's one thing that was interesting about that though is that Stelter almost weekly does a rant about how people don't trust media and it's like their fault for doing that. And this is one of the first instances I've seen of them actually saying, well, that happens because of our own behavior.
Yeah, it's true.
So that was interesting. I haven't seen that before.
Yeah. Ashley Banfield, if you're out there watching this, come on the show. Katie Couric was not nice to her. She said mean things about her.
Ashley Banfield said that?
Yeah. Basically. Well, the book reveals that. Katie Couric says to have been nice to her would have been self-sabotage or something.
Huh.
And apparently, like a New York Post journalist called Ashley Banfield's father and asked she also was good on the Iraq War, Banfield.
Was she? I don't even remember. This is really embarrassing.
And then Katie Couric's father was called by a New York Post reporter, and he said something like, give her a job like Katie has, Katie Couric. And then so Katie Couric was like, Banfield's like father was willing to tell anyone who would listen, something like that. But that's not really fair. So Katie Couric. Yeah. Matt is drinking, I believe, Diet Coke. A lot of people are asking you about what you're drinking.
I'm actually drinking both coffee and Diet Coke. If people are paying attention, right? Yeah, there's like a continuity error.
Oh, wow. Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering if anyone would catch that. Wob Woodward. You gotta love the Spoonerisms. Yeah. My favorite one is likes pee.
What? Oh, likes pee? Oh, right. Spike Lee, yeah.
Yeah. Or 3 cheers for our queer old dean.
Yes, which is what? I can't.
3 cheers for our dear old queen.
Oh, right. Yeah, that is good.
Yeah. So, I heard from Barry.
Oh, okay. What'd she say?
She said, LOL, did not know that, not intentional.
There you go. All right.
Yeah.
There you go.
So right. That was just felicitous. She needs Matt. You need Matt's beauty routine? God. Things must be dire for Alicia.
So Alicia needs her, yeah. Should we go to the power player?
Yeah, let's go for the power player.
He's been an evangelical leader and a culture war lightning rod.
Can we stop? Fox has the best, like, Sturm und Drang, like, graphics intros of anybody on of any of the networks. Like, they've gotten increasingly ridiculous over the years.
Yeah.
You know, like with all this stuff flying in all over the place, and it's kind of, remember like Colbert parodied this?
Yes.
Right. And so did a couple of British shows from way back. But let's see that again, because that's just it's so good. Let's see it again.
He's been an evangelical leader and a culture war lightning rod for decades. Over the years, he's transformed religious broadcasting and rallied millions of Christian conservatives at the ballot box. Now, he's stepping back from his TV pulpit, but making it clear he's not retiring. Here's our Power Player of the Week.
I've spent about 60 years in broadcasting, and I'm 91 years old. This is the last time that I will be hosting the program.
Pat Robertson on stepping down from his daily hosting duties on Christian Broadcasting Network 700 Club.
And I want to thank all of you.
It's a ministry he has relished.
Oh, wow. The Bible says, Moses, my servant, is dead. Now you take over, Joshua. So I think it was time to turn over.
Today, religious television is an institution, thanks in large part to Robertson, who founded CBN back in 1960.
CBN, the Christian Broadcasting Network.
When he bought a small TV station in Virginia. To raise funds for the station, Robertson held a telethon.
People are being saved, they're being healed instantly.
Asking for 700 people to give $10 a month. It evolved into one of the longest-running shows in television history, the 700 Club. Why did you decide to change from formal sermons
we should have a 700
and revival
club
meetings
get 700
to
likes.
a talk show of all things?
People would call in the things that were going on in their life. People would call in prayer, they would call in answers, and the interactive format is what we've been using ever since.
Robertson's influence grew along with CBN. He founded Regent University, and in 1988 he ran for president.
A candidate for the Republican nomination for the presidency.
Winning several Republican primaries.
The big thing that I have done is mobilize Christians into the political arena. You know, it was thought before that politics was something dirty.
Part of that was founding the Christian Coalition to organize voters of faith.
Right. The President of the United States is that.
All right. Well, here's the thing. I want to know if we can still order his age-defying shakes. Do you know about those?
No. Actually, it's funny you mentioned that, because I was going to ask, like, is he drinking the blood of Christian children or something like that?
Well,
right?
Yeah, Matt Wilson, can we play one of the clips that I put in there? Let's see, which one is which one is that?
Ladies and gentlemen, the last few years, I wanted to show that the principle of the law of use as found in Jesus' parable of the talents worked. And so little by little, in terms of building up of exercise, I wanted to show that if you did the exponential curve and you added and you added and you added and you added, all of a sudden you could do some amazing things. And the other thing I wanted to show was that people in their mid-60s and 70s didn't have to be confined to a rocking chair, but they could get out and be active. And so I used myself as a guinea pig to show those two simple principles, nothing more than that. But somebody picked this up a few weeks ago, and something that happened in 2003, there's been a tremendous amount of controversy about one leg press that I did, and then some other things, and they just said, oh, you can't do it, your eyeballs will pop out, your veins will rupture, and you will just be a basket case. Well, a few years later, after the big lift that we were talking about, this is July the 14th, 2004, Christy and I went to the gym, and we were doing a leg press machine, and I didn't perhaps follow the form that they use in competition, but nevertheless, we worked up to 1,000 pounds, which in those days wasn't all that much. If you're a professional weightlifter, you don't need me to tell you that that wasn't the proper form for lifting weights. I used to do it, but in 2003, I was a little bit more adept. Well, joining me now is next to Anderson, who was the world's strongest man. This guy's about as strong as anybody I've ever been in touch with. And he was with me, coaching me all the way and inspiring me to put on more and more and more weight. And it's a pleasure to welcome my dear friend and physician, former physician, Dr. Charles Warren, who played football at Miami of Ohio. He had won the championship in the shot put event in the senior Olympics in Virginia. And it's so good to see
Big Ben
you,
Roethlisberger's
Doctor. You got me into that stuff and practically killed me. And you kept saying, "Let's go more."
So where's this going?
What was going?
They just talk about how he lifted. He got to 2,000 pounds.
Wow.
But if you show, I couldn't find the footage of it. But if you show the link, the age-defying shake link, Wilson. This is it doesn't link to his video, but it does show you a photo of him doing the leg press. It also gives you, I think, okay, Pat Robertson's age-defying shakes. So there he is pressing 2,000 pounds. And if you go up, let's see.
Age-defying protein shake.
If you want
what's
to also,
in it, though?
Let's see what's in it. There was actually a lawsuit about it.
Was there?
Yeah. But people are asking, the point of the segment is that we are noting the fact that he is retiring, and we're noting the fact that Fox News considered him a power player, and Fox News decided that his retiring was important. I don't know why I just responded to a random.
I think he's a power player for sure.
He is a power player, yeah.
Yeah, he was a major factor in American politics.
He's
nuts. Like, you remember that time that he said that, like,
gay people caused Katrina?
Right, yeah, there was that, and then the other one was like, how do Jews make money? Like they spend all their time polishing diamonds. Like you never see them mowing your lawns. Like all that stuff. Like
yeah, you can't find a Jew. It's true. We're not good. We get the Shabbos Goy to do that.
Yeah, what is it about Jewish people that makes them prosper financially? You almost never find Jews tinkering with their cars on the weekends or mowing their lawns.
That's hilarious.
You know,
well, there's a very funny Curb Your Enthusiasm where he thinks he's Christian. Like he thinks he was actually, his biological parents are Christian, and he starts like changing his car, like going under the car to tinker with his car.
Oh, wow.
Like does like a bunch of drinking. It's really
that's really funny. So he once that's remember that time that Woody Allen tried to change religions and he starts eating Wonder Bread?
No, what is that? That's really funny though too.
That was in
what movie was that in?
That was in I think it was Hannah and Her Three Sisters.
Oh.
I might be wrong, but I think it was, and he like went through this midlife crisis. So he goes out and he buys a crucifix and Wonder Bread. Yeah, really exactly. Cool. So same idea. Very good though. Pat Robertson retiring. It did take an awful long time. I mean, man, that dude was like on the air. He's probably got the all-time record for most hours on television.
Maybe, yeah, probably, yeah. It was Hannah and Her Sisters, yeah. And he said he's going to be spending more. He then, if we didn't get to watch the full video, but he really does regret getting into politics apparently, and now he's going to spend more time on eternal issues. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I bet he doesn't really regret it. I mean, he moved politics. He moved the Republican Party quite far, you know, to the right, I would say. So he accomplished his objective. But anyway, interesting stuff. So those were the Sunday morning shows.
Anything you want to say about Colin Powell?
You know what's interesting? Like, I don't know what's going. I always wondered about Colin Powell because if he had run for president, in 2008, maybe not in 2008, but earlier, like there were plenty of moments where he might have been president, right? I think before Obama became the candidate, there was some talk about Colin Powell on the Republican side running after George Bush. And there was some talk before then, and he declined. The reasons for his declining to run for president were always mysterious to, I think, people. And there was, I always wondered about that, because now his legacy, clearly his biggest legacy, is going to be that he got us into Iraq, selling a phony war to the United Nations. All the accounts suggest that he was deeply conflicted about it and didn't. Well, no, I mean, I believe it, because
I know. I just I only have that much sympathy for him.
Well, no, of course, that's the problem, right? Like he made a decision that is gonna go down in history as like the thing that defines him the most, and
right.
I think it's a lesson for people, right? Like,
well, how much? I don't think that's gonna be how he's covered though by the obits and stuff. Let's see. Let's just take a quick look at the headlines. Colin Powell, first Black U.S. Secretary. Colin Powell, first Black U.S. Secretary of State, dies of COVID-19 complications amid cancer battle.
What paragraph is it in?
Let's see. Help shape the first Black Secretary of the U.S., whose leadership in several Republican administrations helped American foreign policy in the last years of the 20th century. In the early years of the 21st, has died. He was 84. I'm looking to see where Iraq comes in. Let's see. Okay, it's which paragraph? How many words down is it? It's in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th paragraph
of the Times one.
No, this is CNN. Sorry, we should look at the Times one. We can do that on Wednesday show.
Yeah, so it's in the first paragraph of the Times one.
What does it say?
Colin Powell, who in 4 decades of public life served as the nation's top soldier, diplomat, and national security advisor, and whose speech in the United Nations in 2003 helped pave the way for the United States to go to a war in Iraq, died on Monday. He was 84. That's pretty.
It's salient. Bad. It's salient, but how critical is it of the decision to go to war? It
doesn't matter. It's the fact that it's in the fact that it's in the lead of your obit in the New York Times. That tells you what every historian is right. It's gonna be foremost on any description of him forever. That he made that decision, and I know, and
really they should have, and that it's so sad because it's going to overshadow his cover up of the Miley massacre in Vietnam.
Well, right, yeah. right, yeah. But every report suggested, like, the whole thing, like, you break it, you own it. Like, right. I think it was pretty clear that he knew it was a terrible mistake to go in there,
right,
and moreover, that he was being used by the Bush administration because he was the one who had the best reputation as someone who wasn't, like, transparently a humongous liar.
Yeah.
So they sent him to the UN expressly for the purpose of using his credibility, and he allowed that to happen.
Right. Makes it worse in some ways.
Just a massive, terrible mistake. This is a guy who could have been president, and that's what he chose to do instead. So
yeah.
Messed up. Anyway, we got to go, but we'll see you later this week.
Yeah. Bye, everyone. Make sure you go to usefulidiots.substack.com, usefulidiots.substack.com. Yeah. Bye, everyone.
Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.